What a wild week of recruiting it has been to go along with wild weekends of college football. Multiple top prospects have committed this week, making major shakeups in the top 10 that we have got to talk about. Before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you think we are about to start seeing a plethora of recruits making their decisions? Let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below. But with all of that being said, we have got to talk about the various recruitments that have happened that have caused waves in the college football world. And we will start with the Oklahoma Sooners being able to keep home the #1 player in their state, Gentry Williams. Gentry Williams was one of the more coveted athletes in all of the nation, able to translate to the next level as either a high-level offensive player or defensive player. This is a kid that has unbelievable upside. 6 foot, 170 pounds. He was someone who Lincoln Riley and company really made it of great importance to keep home. A guy that they ultimately wanted to convert to a cornerback. He meant a great deal to this 22 class, not only for the type of player he is on the defensive side of the ball, but what it meant to lock down your state, which Oklahoma has done a really good job of, and getting the cherry on top was all the better for it. Now, this puts Oklahoma within the top 10 recruiting classes in the nation, which is exactly where you want to be. And interestingly enough, when we look at the shakeup that occurred within the top 10, there are some new teams, and let's go ahead and name our new top 10 in order. At number 1, we have Alabama. At 2, Georgia. 3, Penn State. 4, Ohio State. 5, Notre Dame. 6, Texas. 7, Oregon. 8, Oklahoma. 9, Texas A&M. And 10, Clemson. Now, the interesting thing is there are only 5 teams in the top 10 recruiting classes in the nation that are ranked within the top 10 with less than 20 recruits. Those 5 teams are the Alabama Crimson Tide, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Clemson. So for those 5 teams, you are looking really good as far as your long-term upside goes. You still have plenty of room in this class, and already establishing yourself this early on in the process as a top 10 class with that much room to grow will only bode well, whether you choose to go through the transfer portal or the traditional route. With that much room, it really is all uphill from there. But that takes me into another area, because even though Oklahoma got the good news of Gentry Williams, it wasn't all good news. Another individual who Oklahoma and the Alabama Crimson Tide wanted, Kenyan Jackson, ultimately decided to go to Ohio State. A top 10 edge rusher, a top 100 player in the nation. It's always incredibly hard to go into these recruiting battles against Larry Johnson for Ohio State. Larry Johnson is one of the best recruiters in the business. We know this at this point. He gets in some top-notch recruits. So at the end of the day, when you see a top-level edge guy commit to Ohio State, when you go and check who was the primary recruiter and you see Larry Johnson, it makes complete sense. Ohio State has been hyper-successful in that department. Larry Johnson has been hyper-successful both coaching and recruiting that position. So I wasn't surprised that Kenyan Jackson ultimately goes with Ohio State, but it puts Ohio State once again firmly within the top 5 classes in the nation, and they are one of the 5 to be in that range with less than 20 recruits. More specifically, they are one of 2 programs to be within the top 5 recruiting classes in the nation with less than 20 recruits. They and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Another big-time splash happened in the recruiting world today that we have got to talk about, because this could have reverberations. Kenyan Williams, 5-star defensive tackle out the state of Georgia, decommitted from USC. And this makes me circle back to a question I asked a while ago. That would the chaos that would be caused by Clay Helton's firing impact recruiting? And though with Kenyan Williams decommitting from USC and flipping that commitment to Georgia would seem to indicate that the answer to that question is yes, I think it's important to note that Kenyan Williams was a Georgia kid, so it's very hard to say how much of it was that he was a Georgia kid, he had a great relationship with this staff, a long-standing relationship, or how much of it was akin to the chaos. I think it's easy to say that it's a helpful dose of both, but I'm just not sure how much. But it does make me question if there is a better possibility that Alabama could have success in flipping a Damani Jackson. USC really started off their recruiting class well for the 22 cycle, capitalizing on what they did in the last year's cycle. And they were able to get in 5-star guys such as Kenyan Williams, who, even though he flipped, he was a big get for USC at the time. However, it turns the attention to the other 5-star in their class, Damani Jackson, a top 10 player in the nation, one of the most coveted cornerbacks of recent memory, and Alabama is a team that has been trying to flip him. Reportedly, he enjoyed his last visit, and so this is something we have got to watch moving forward, especially when we look at the NFL and we can see an individual such as Trayvon Diggs, a former Alabama corner, having the success he's had. And it doesn't just relegate itself to Trayvon Diggs. I can spend hours talking about how much success these Alabama DBs have had in the league. Eddie Jackson, Landon Collins, Marlon Humphrey. We can go on and on. It is really hard to say no to Alabama when you're a DB, and now that we've seen a 5-star decommit from USC, while Alabama has been after their other 5-star, it's really going to be something we have to watch. Damani Jackson hailing from Mater Dei, the exact same place Alabama was able to go and get Bryce Young, who, ironically, was committed to USC. So can history repeat itself? This is something we have got to keep an eye on. But the last thing I want to end on is more good news for the Crimson Tide, or at least I should say more potential good news. Shamar James has decommitted from the University of Florida, and this kid was an individual that the Alabama Crimson Tide coaching staff really wanted to get in. Very talented individual who would be of a massive help to Alabama's class, and so you can bet this is someone who the Alabama coaching staff are going to be turning their attention to see if they can secure him in their recruiting class. He was someone that they felt good before he committed to Florida, but now I think he's an individual that they will look to seal the deal with. Hop down below because this has been a wild week of recruiting and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. Zach Rice is reportedly supposed to commit tomorrow. 5-star offensive tackle. That's another one we will be talking about. So this is going to be very interesting to see. If you have nothing to do this afternoon, hop by the channel. I will be doing a live stream around 5 o'clock Central Standard Time and I'd love to have you there. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you thought about this week. That's it. See ya.